Good luck.
We got this covered, man. We got this covered. I love it. All right. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I'm so sorry that we're a few minutes late. I swear that we don't normally work on CP time, even though it's a whole bunch of Black women on this thing. But that was me. My technical issues were acting up. I was trying to be cute and be outside. So I've moved back inside. So I thank you all for your patience there. So without further ado, we're actually just going to go ahead and hop into it. If this is not your first rodeo or go round, you've heard this spiel before, but I think it's so important for us to understand and norm around why are we doing this work, why is it important, et cetera. And so as everyone knows, or I think most people know about me, I go through life with a particular motto. That motto is peace, and that stands for positive education always causes elevation. And the heart and soul of I Am a Black Woman, Yes, I Matter, our virtual series, is about educating and elevating the voices of Black women for all of us, right? It's about creating community and sisterhood, but also elevating the beauty, the intelligence, the awesomeness of what it is to be Black and beautiful in this world. And I'm so thankful to my panelists for being here. So thank you guys so much. I'm like humbled by you giving us this energy and time. And that's the other thing I like to talk about. You know, you just don't go online and say, yo, I'm just going to sit here and create an event and I'm just going to talk and shoot from the hip. No, people take time to bring in their intelligence, right? Their emotional IQ, their intelligence IQ, all of that. And all of that is something that we should be thankful for, that someone is giving that energy in that time that is so valuable and precious to be here with us today on this Saturday. I don't know where in the world you are, so it's either Saturday afternoon, evening, or morning, depending where in the world that you are currently. And so I just want to thank everyone for being a part of that. I want to talk a little bit about how this came to be. I am a Black woman, yes, I matter. And then the importance of why we decided to bring into the global voices piece and the aspect. And we're going to continue to really talk about elevating the voices of women globally across the world, right? It all started because in my lifetime, I have always enjoyed having community, having sisterhood. It might be because I'm the oldest of four sisters. It might be because I enjoy being around my grandmas, my aunties. I just love Black women energy. So wherever I go, I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for my community, no matter where I go in the country or in the world. And what was happening was that people loved that. You know, when we got to see each other in person and we got to support each other and we got to really learn from each other and build new friendships. It was an important aspect of all the work that I was doing. I think without that foundation, without that energy, I wouldn't be who I am today. And so I'm always trying to figure out how to give it back, how to give it back, how to give it back. Well, then the pandemic happened. And I thought a perfect time, let's go virtual. Let's see what we can do virtually to really elevate our voices, to talk about the things that are going on, right? COVID-19, the racial inequities, but also just what is it like to be Black, period. And then I had the awesomeness of the first time I did my first virtual event, Elizabeth was on there, who's on our panel. And she and I ended up connecting and we started talking and she started saying, I feel like I have community. I feel like I have community. You have given me community and I live all the way on the other part of the world. And I didn't realize that I could find community somewhere else. And so we decided, what could we do to have this community globally? And so that's how Global Voices really came to be. So it was a brainchild based off of my conversation that I had with Elizabeth. So I also have to just give the shout out to Elizabeth right there for always being there with me. What we could do to really make sure that Black women across the globe felt a sense of community, no matter where we were, even if we were isolated in our particular physical location, how could we elevate and really find our times together? So without further ado, this is not about me. This is about the awesome women that are on this panel. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. And since I already started off with Elizabeth, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, hi, I'm Elizabeth and I'm 55 years old. I'm a mother to five children, and they are from the youngest is 18 and the oldest is 37. And I'm working as a nurse assistant, and a nurse assistant in Denmark. That means an assistant that, a person who assists a nurse. So I'm not a nurse, yeah. But I have a passion for mentally ill people and people who are suffering in one way or another, people who are brokenhearted. Yeah, because I have been through a lot myself, so I know what it is like. Yeah. And I am halfway through an education as a therapist, NLP psychotherapist. And so I'm a master practitioner. And I am very much involved in on LinkedIn and Facebook, preaching the gospel. I am all about Jesus. Yes, I'm a believer. So, yeah, and then I'm black. I'm black in Denmark. There are not so many black people, so I'm looking forward to talk about that. Yeah. So I think that's it. Oh yeah, I have to say that I was originally born in Nigeria, but I was adopted and moved to Denmark as a kid. I was 5 years old when I came to Denmark, so that is 51 years, yeah, since I came from Nigeria. Yeah, that's
Great. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. How about Leanne?
So let me unmute my mic. So hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time. So I'm originally British, but I live in Munich and I have been here for almost 8 years. I'm 36. I am a mother of two, a 2.5-year-old and also an 8-month-old. I still work in the corporate world. However, my passion, what is my passion? My passion is love, and my passion is Black women and how we find love, how we actually love ourselves, because, you know, the rhetoric and the narrative is always about Black women not being able to find love. We're always the ones to remain single. And it's just something I don't believe. I don't believe that we are the last in the case. I think we're amazing. No, I don't think we're amazing, actually. I know we're amazing. So for me, what I do is I help other Black women find their amazing. That's what it's all about. You know, it's very difficult sometimes to find love if you don't love yourself. And that's what I'm dedicating my time to, because especially with the pandemic, you know, so many people are feeling lonely, so many people are feeling isolated. The one thing you need to understand is, how do you connect to yourself? How do you love yourself? So that's absolutely my higher purpose, my higher mission, to help all of us realize, you know, something, there's nothing about us that's not worth being loved. We are amazing. We just need to recognize it.
Great. Thank you so much, Leanne. And I'm glad you brought up the corporate America and how we're all trying to sort of transition out of that. And so I'm going to talk to someone who actually has transitioned successfully out of corporate America so far, and that's Sophie.
Thank you so much, Kumara. So I'll also just jump straight into it. I am 31 years old. I do that because I actually match my age with my husband's age. I don't pay attention to how old I am until it's his birthday. And then I'm like, oh, right. Yes, that's my age. But I have 2 gorgeous tiny humans. The eldest is 3 and the youngest is about 17 months. And like you mentioned, I have recently transitioned from corporate South Africa. I'm originally from South Africa, actually. And my extended family, all of my parents, our heritage is from Botswana. So we've got double, you know, that kind of heritage coming in there. But yes, December, I quit my corporate job of almost 10 years and I founded officially my organization called Hello Coach Care, which I had been doing for the past 4 or 5 years actually as a passion project. But I decided that it was time to transition and actually do this thing full time, because that's generally my purpose. And I think I love what Leanne said, and she mentioned, you know, she's all about love. I thought that was really cool to bring in, because I actually dedicated this year to love. So I call this year my love year, and that means I am not doing a single thing that I do not love. If it makes me go, I'm not doing it. If it makes me go, I don't know, I'm not doing it. So that is essentially every decision I'm making. I literally look inwards first and kind of try to figure out, is this something I want to do? Number 1, is this something I love to do? Number 2, and is this going to take away from my joy in any way? And if it does, then I absolutely do not do it. I'm no longer sort of very conscious about how other people are reacting to me. And I think it's also just important to also note, you know, this is our experience as Black women. We are Black and we are women. So it's difficult to expect us to have any other kind of passion apart from our lived experiences. And I think these conversations are really important to have because of that. We're trying to sort of cancel out the narrative of you can only be for Black women if you're angry. or that you can only be for Black women if you come from an impoverished place or a, like an underdog kind of situation. So I'm really excited to have these kind of conversations, and I'm looking forward to hearing what everybody else has to say. That's me in a nutshell.
Quincy, thank you so much. I am totally going to steal this. It is my year of love. I love that. So anyone else in the audience who wants to make this their year of love, I'm all for it. Things that only bring joy and love into your life. That's what those are the things that you say yes to. Yes, I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, yes, thanks, Quincy. All right, and so next I'm going to apologize. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I've been practicing, but I'm gonna try it as best as I can. But Oda Mea.
Yeah, Oda Mea. Okay, so my name is Oda Mea Amoako. Oda Mea, so you stress on the A. Oda Mea Amoako. And I'm from Ghana, West Africa, and I'm the founder of Ladies for Change in Ghana. And we basically do training sessions for high school students. And we give them career guidance and counseling. We teach them about their personal hygiene and personal grooming. We also teach them how to balance their Christian life with their academics or their profession. We also do health awareness campaigns, and we did one on social media regarding scoliosis. Scoliosis is basically the curvature of the spine, and we did a social media awareness for that. So I really believe that, women are a powerhouse, and no matter how small our voices are, we shouldn't be afraid to use it. When I was posting the flyer for this program, that's what I used as my caption. Regardless of how small your voice is, you shouldn't be afraid to use it. Because no matter what, if you don't open up, if you don't voice out whatever your feelings are, how you feel about something, you wouldn't be able to, put across your information and your message. So I'm so excited to be part of this conversation because, these are conversations that we should keep having as Black women. And I know this would go a long way to actually get other people to come on board to talk about why Black women matter. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then Amini.
Hello, everyone. Everybody. I'm so happy to be a part of this conversation. Just a little bit about myself. I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Kinshasa. I now live in Brooklyn, New York, and an important part of my identity is just I feel like the duality that I have between being an African and also an American, and just trying to bring the two together. I think my life purpose has been to discover who I am and what contribution I really want to make in the world at any given time. And lately, I've been thinking a lot about empowered women and feminist men, and using those two ideas as the way that I think we need to develop our society, that women should feel empowered at all times, at any age, at any stage in their lives, and they should be surrounded by other empowered women and feminist men. Men who understand that they're not the boss of us, we're not the boss of them, and that we're here to work together towards a common goal. So I've been trying to do that really without even knowing how to articulate it, literally ever since I was a little kid. One I think interesting information that you'll never find in any bio about me is that I'm the oldest of 15 children.
15.
And no, but there's a story to that. It's 15 children, lots of different moms, lots of different dads. So I have had to be the connector, the person who tries to bring everybody together. And I don't know why, I was first to be born among all these children that are related to each other. But that's what happened. And I've decided to own it and to use that as a way to, again, create empowered women and feminist men.
I absolutely love that. Empowered women and feminist men. Someone please put that in the chat, because we just have to have that nugget of jewel that's there. So that's awesome. I really want to talk a little, and Amina, you talked a little bit about this, and I've had conversations with Quincy and Leanne, Elizabeth about this too. What's the experience of being Black in your particular countries? But also, let's elevate some of the duality between what we know of being Black in sort of European or American or here in the United States versus what it means to actually be Black in an African country. And what are some tensions, what are our commonalities, and what are some tensions that we have there? And anyone can go first.
So I think I was just quicker on my unmute. Okay. So I talk about this all the time, and I think what people also don't know about me is that straight after matric, so I was like terribly bullied in my final year of high school. So we say matric. I think other countries call it senior year. But it was really a tough year for me. But it was so surprising because I was head girl of my school. I was president of all cultural clubs, captain of hockey teams. But also, I think for me, my detriment was that I'm kind of the voice of people who didn't have one. So I was never shy or embarrassed to kind of stick up for that kid who was being bullied. So I think it was just a compounding of finally people had enough of me kind of speaking up, and then I became the target. So I had a really tough year my senior year, and I just couldn't go on to university that year. For me, my world seemed small, and the idea of continuing with my bullies at university on campus and seeing them every day was a bit too much for me. So luckily, though, my parents actually understood completely, and I took a gap year. I took that gap year in America. I was based in Chicago at a theme park. I think most of you might know it. It was called Six Flags. And that was probably one of the best things I did for myself, not just in exposing me to different cultures and a different idea, but also resting, but also just understanding how precious my Blackness is, or my understanding of what Black was. Kwamora, we've spoken about this before, and how there was such a different shift in mentality and psyche of the African Black, or African American, sorry, I hope that's the right term, of the African American compared to a Black person in Africa. I was asked constantly, where do you get your confidence from? How dare you be so loud? How dare you speak up for yourself? At 18 years old, that was such a shock to my system. And I had conversations with so many random Black people who would stop me because they didn't understand why I walked with my head up high. They couldn't understand why I wasn't nervous to be in certain places, because I didn't grow up with that. Remember, in my country, our population is sitting at about 58 million now, and 56 million of them are Black people. So there is that sort of understanding, or how we grew up with that pride. You know, you were proud to be Black, you're proud of your heritage, you're proud of where you come from. And also because of our history, we were not just going to let anybody sort of diminish that Blackness and make us feel anything less than, because that's our history. And I grew up in a house where I was taught, you are Black and be proud of your Blackness, and there's nothing wrong with your Blackness. So it's a completely different mind shift that I noticed, you know, in the States compared to in African countries. And I think the other ladies might be able to give their experiences and confirm what I'm saying. But I think it's really important to start having these conversations and really show as well in America that it's not like that everywhere. And that there's nothing wrong for you guys to fight for your Blackness and your right to be Black and safe and loved, and to have what anybody else in your community and your society has. So I think it's really important to really discuss that and understand that Blackness elsewhere is actually like, it's a good thing. You know, it's not feared. It's not, it's not looked down on. But yeah, let me just stop there and let the other women kind of come into the conversation and give their thoughts as well.
If you don't mind me jumping on off the back of you, Quincy, I think it's a very interesting point that you have there, because I will add a little bit and say, how you came to Britain. Like, I'm British, so my parents were born in England, but my grandparents are Jamaican. So what it means is how we came to Britain makes a very big difference. So when I was growing up, my grandparents, first of all, I grew up in a very, so school-wise, my secondary school was very white. My primary school was very mixed, but my community at home was very, very Jamaican, which meant that when my grandparents came and were invited to go to England during the Windrush in the 1950s, they were coming at a point where English people were lazy. They didn't want to do these jobs. That's why they invited people to come to the country. So when what my grandparents instilled in me, in us, was that pride of, we come here and we work hard. We do the job when nobody wants to do. So they came here to Britain. I'm not in Britain anymore, but they came to Britain and they built the country. And the pride that they had was very different. So when I was growing up, I was taught to be proud of my blackness. I was taught to, I can honestly say I didn't eat English food until I was about 11. I was brought up on Jamaican food. I was brought up on Jamaican music. Most of my friends at home were all Jamaican. So my whole society was black and all I knew was black. And that's what I felt proud of being. So when I went to secondary school and I went to a girls' school, and there were maybe 700 girls, and of those 700 girls, maybe 10 of us were black, I probably should have felt, something. People don't like me because I'm black, but I didn't, because I love being black, and it was never anything, because my grandparents and my mother instilled in me that, you know what, you are something special. So when I come now and I live in Germany, I've been to university, I studied German at university, I studied German, French, Japanese at school. So when I've come here now to Germany and people are like, why is your German so good? I'm like, but why shouldn't it be? It's that preconception that I always have to deal with. I pop up in places that are expensive and they're expecting, oh, but you're paying for yourself. Yes, because I can. So this is a very, very different dynamic in terms of me being black and being proud of my blackness, because now people are questioning my intellectual abilities to be able to speak a language. People are questioning, how can I possibly be in certain places and you're black? Why is no one paying for you? And why can you also communicate why are you articulate in a language that's not your own? So that was a very, very different, let's say different experience for me, which I also had when I used to live in Vienna. It's that constant questioning of your capabilities when you're black. But in any case, I've never lost my pride of being black, because I know it's something so special. It's nothing that anybody can take away from me. And you know something, no matter how anyone says, we may have been teased for our lips, our hips, our this, our that, I know that it's something that other people want. So I will forever be proud. I'll hand over to somebody else.
Okay, so I would like to talk from my point of view. And Ghana is an all-black country, and in history there was that kind of mindset that, women are probably supposed to be in the kitchen. You're supposed to be taking care of the kids. You don't have to have a career. You just had to take care of the kids and cook, and that was it. But now we are progressing. There are a lot of women in governance and active politics. We have one lady who went into parliament at age 23. And we have a lot of other women who are fighting for a lot of the abolishment of some bad practices like female genital mutilation. We have Madam Gifty-Aunty, or Ohene Gifty-Aunty, who is also fighting for, the inclusion of women into a lot of activities, and should I say their careers and politics and whatever. So in Ghana, for me personally, I'm really proud to be a woman, because I keep seeing a lot of women on TV in active politics, and I get inspired that I can also become a very great leader in future as a Black woman. So in Ghana, we have a lot of them. We have a few women who are also fighting for, how people sometimes put women aside, how women are not allowed to take certain positions and certain roles, and should I say at their workplace and all that. That kind of mindset is going away gradually. So in Ghana, it really feels good to be a woman in Ghana. I on my side and my perspective. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I was listening to Quincy and I was just, yeah. That's so interesting because your experience is just the opposite of my experience. Because in Denmark, I came to Denmark in '69, and there were not many black people at all. So it's kind of like people were looking at us as if like in the zoo, you know. And it was kind of like they would be shouting and they would be staring at you and they want to touch you and can we please touch your hair. And it was just like, people were scared because they didn't know. Yeah, they were afraid of what they didn't know anything about. So I grew up being bullied a lot. Yeah. So one of the experiences I had in the first grade was of an image. It was kind of like I was awake, but it was like a dream. I was standing in the front of the class and I had a zip down my body in the front, and then I could just zip down, and then on the inside, I was white. So that was my hidden dream, that if I could just be like everybody else, because this was like a curse. It was like a curse being black because you just couldn't walk anywhere without people noticing it and talking about it and saying all strange things. So at the age of 10, I was used to, at the age of 10, that men, grown up men, will be saying a lot of things, sexual, yeah, asking me questions that you will never ask a child about, like as if I was a grown woman or something like that, you know, giving me offers. And yeah, and I was just like, my eyes was just because I didn't understand what was going on. But, yeah, that was scary. And then as I grew up, I was confused because am I African or am I Danish? So at a point, we went to Nigeria, but I was 14 and I was scared to go back to Nigeria because I didn't know what to expect. But the problem was that when I go to the marketplace, people will be laughing at me because my Hausa, that's the language where I am using, they could hear from that, oh, she's not from here. So they were just laughing at me because you don't belong here. And then when I'm in Denmark, they say, wow, you are not from here. So I was really growing up frustrated and confused. And so that vanished first when I really got to know God, when I really gave my life to God and I really was living like a Christian. Then suddenly I realized that I'm not Danish, I'm not African, I'm a kingdom citizen. So that was kind of like epiphany for me. The kind of like, oh, I don't belong either there or here, I belong up there. And that kind of set me free. And that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if I was walking down the street, I would just be walking like this because I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to have anybody noticing me because it was kind of like it was shameful being black. Yeah, so that was really difficult. And whenever I see black people in Denmark, they are either they're working with old people, working at the hospital. They're always that kind of jobs, or they are unemployed and they're having a lot of children. And yeah, or maybe they are singers. There are not very many black people, you see that are working and who are businesswomen and things like that. You don't see them even either in television or, defending themselves or talking about the black community. You don't see that. Yeah.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Mimi, I know you live in both worlds, you like straddle both. So I would love to hear some of your perspective.
No, I was listening to Elizabeth, and I was just trying to take it all in. It's a lot. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love this forum because we all have so many different experiences, and it's really important to share them. I was thinking about something that I can talk about, related to all that's been talked about. I'll say two things. One, as I mentioned, I was born in the Congo, and when we came to America, as everyone would imagine, it was a culture shock for us, for me and my brother. And we got teased and got called all the names you can think about. I think the stereotypical name that most African children get called when they come to the United States is African booty scratcher. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, but that is a very, yes, you're nodding. Yeah, it's a very typical name. If you get called that when you come here. Monkey, I remember kids coming up to me and asking me, if I had clothes, like if when we came with clothes, if clothes were given to us at the airport. Here you come from an all Black country where the president is Black, the pilots are Black, everybody's Black, and you feel good and you don't even have a sense of, racism. And then you come here and you get the racism from both the Blacks and the whites. Yeah. So I have to say this, but our African brothers and sisters, because of how they've had to live in this country for 400 years, they were typically the ones who would call us African booty scratcher. No white person ever called me an African booty scratcher. It was the African American that did that. But when I was a kid, I didn't understand it. Now, as an adult, I understand why it happens. I understand the trauma that African Americans have gone through, and the self-hatred that is deep, 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 and it comes out through these name calling, through colorism, through valuing those who are lighter versus those who are darker. It shows up in all kinds of ways. But what saved me and my brother is at one point we left the United States and we went to Liberia and lived there, and I went to high school there. By the time I came back to the United States, my Blackness and the strength in my Blackness had been reconstructed, because I was back to an all African, to an all Black country, and we were the stars. So we were the kids that just came from America, kind of stars, and that helped us to gain back our confidence. So by the time I came back to the United States, I was confident. And like you, Quincy, I could walk into any room I wanted. I felt very empowered in my Blackness, in my intelligence, in my capabilities. And I've been moving through the world in America that way. Then the other thing that I'll say is just about women. My parents divorced when I was a child. And I think, in Africa, one of the things that we have to contend with is relationships between men and women. And as I mentioned before, I think we do need to raise empowered women and feminist men. My mother, and it's just recently that I'm really coming to grips with this, and I'm willing to talk about it openly, but my mother suffered greatly for choosing to be happy, for choosing to say, I can't put up with certain things in my marriage, and I must go out and find something different. Until the day she passed away, she paid for that decision. And I hope that we are raising boys and girls that would not tolerate an environment in which a woman pays for the rest of her life for choosing happiness.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that. There were so many great nuggets. I'm going to try to sort of cull some of these together. But Elizabeth, I think one of the things that you spoke to, which we don't often elevate, but I would love for us to maybe suss it a little bit, is this adultification and sexualization of Black bodies, especially young Black women. There is something about that allows us to give passes to white children who do a certain thing, but don't give the same type of leniency or understand that Black children are children, and we want to treat them as adults. So, you know, that's some of the things that, you know, when you were talking about when the men were making comments when you were 10, that immediately came to mind, the adultification and sexualization of Black bodies, especially young Black women. But one of the things that I think all of us have talked about was the foundation and the pride that we had at home being Black, right? And so many, at least I can speak about the Black people in America, so many of us do not get those foundations, right? We don't know who we come from. We don't know anything about our history. We don't think Black is beautiful. We don't take pride in being Black. And so you've got so much brokenness and so much trauma here in the United States, especially, but I would also go to say almost any European, UK country that's been colonized, right? You'll have that same sort of mentality where Black is not the majority. You just don't feel pride, or you haven't been able to feel pride in being Black. So one of the reasons why we're doing this is, how do we help people feel proud of who they are? How can we walk with our head held high, right? Elizabeth, I remember you said, I would go like this until I found Christ. And then I walk with my head held high. So what are some tips that we can give to people so that they do walk in their truth, and that they do feel pride in who they are? They're proud to be Black. They're proud to be a Black woman. And anyone can answer that.
Can I just come to your point, Kumara, about being British? Just because I think on the British side, I think it's very, very, I think it can be very different. And I hate breaking groups out specifically, but I think with the historical Windrush movement, that was very, very specific. So in terms of I come from Birmingham. Now, Birmingham has the largest Jamaican community in Britain. So that right there was, let's say, it was like, I'm not going to say a mini Jamaica of sorts, but you had a very, very Black community, which for a lot of us, so my experience in coming, we call us Brummies, people who are from Birmingham are Brummies. So for anybody who's a Black Jamaican Brummie, I think the experience is still very different to somebody who's come from London, for example, or come from Yorkshire, because the pride that you have in being Black is something very, very different. I love it. I've never felt as though I've had to put my head down. But what I do know is being in London and seeing some of my Black friends who come from London, that's a very, very different dynamic. And it comes back again to how you're, not just how you're raised in terms of your home, but what kind of community is there? Because I think this comes down to also representation being important. If you don't see anybody that looks like you, who is proud to be themselves, it's very, very difficult for you to mirror that. Now, looking at my mother, for example, my mom was born in 1963. So she grew up in racist Britain, being called the N-word, where she had to literally fight people who were being racist towards her. She said to me, you are Black, and basically love who you are. But because I had my mother who was strong as a reflection, I had my grandmother who was strong as a reflection, I had my grandfather who was strong as a reflection, it made it a lot easier. And I think going forward, it's not, I think in some senses we have to look to history to understand where we come from. But in some senses, we have to now be the people to look for ways to embody that sense of loving ourselves, to be able to pass it forward. Because without the reflection, I wouldn't be able to love who I am today.
I think it's important to become a detective. I've been that in my own life, asking my sister. We were three girls who were adopted, two from Nigeria, and the third was from Korea. But my sister from Nigeria, I was asking her all different questions, and you're trying to find out, why am I like this? Why am I saying this? Why do I raise my children like this? You know, trying to dig down and find out, who am I? And I think that is very important. And also one thing that my mother who adopted us, we traveled a lot. And I really believe that has really been an asset, because we always had a lot of different people from different countries in our home. So we were eating a lot of different nationalities and a lot of different types of food. You know, getting to know your background, and getting to know other countries and other citizens. I just think being very curious is very important. So, like when I live in Denmark, I'm naturally different no matter what I do. So it's kind of like, as you said, Leanne, I really believe that is so important to have somebody you can look at and see, oh, we look the same. And, I think it's very important to get that, to seek that.
Can I jump in there as well and just touch on, what Leanne and the different experiences that Elizabeth and also Amani are talking about? Just because we live, so like I mentioned in my country, we're majority Black, right? But we also have a history of colonization. We have a history of apartheid. So we have a very mixed community or population, from white, colored, Indian, Asian, Black. It's very mixed. So what you see in our communities, and I think that's why for me community is important, but also what Leanne mentioned and Elizabeth just mentioned now, to say it's so important to see somebody else step into their Blackness and be proud of their Blackness. And for me, that was my mom. I watched my mom sort of move through life being unapologetically Black. She was one of those women who, back in the day, she had the big afro. She was always in like the 2 pieces, that was like really hip back in the day. And she was just so unapologetic. And she raised us to say that as well. She raised us with that mentality of, you never let anybody say anything about you that isn't true. So you question everything, and you question whether or not that sits well with you. And if it doesn't, you fight for it. And I think as children, that was really big for me. But now what my point is to this is, in all Black communities, we struggle now with classism, or colorism, where you have, so like with our experience, my family was one of the first Black families to be integrated into the new suburbs when segregation kind of ended at the, with our integration of democracy. And I don't have that experience of growing up in a township, growing up in a rural area in my country. So I don't have that level of a cultural experience like other Black people do. And I'm judged for that as well. So I'm judged for my accent. I'm judged for the schools I had the opportunity to go to. I'm judged for the fact that my name is Quincy. The fact that I don't have a Black name. I'm often asked, but what is your Black name? Are you really going to go with that slave name? So I think in our countries, it's also a battle between ourselves to say, and like Amani said, that self-loathing, it's no longer an issue of now fending off white people or their idea or their ideal of who we are. It's now about standing together, and I'm fighting other Black people in my workplace, in our schools, where if you've gone to like a private school or what they call Model Cs in our country, again, you're judged for that, and it's like, but why are we being judged for opportunity, for being able to experience different things and almost try to elevate ourselves out of the normal standard of poverty or, whatever the case may be. And I thought that was just important to bring into the conversation as well, that honestly, what we're fighting now isn't necessarily another race or another system. In my place of the world anyway, that is definitely not the case in America. But what we're fighting now is each other. It's being called words like coconut or Oreo, being asked that, what is your Black name? How come you didn't grow up in a township or a farm? It's those little things as well that I think make an impact in how we see ourselves and how we carry ourselves. And I think, and also just the small town dynamic as well, right? So if you lived your whole life in a small town, chances are there was a lot of white people in that small town, a lot of Afrikaans people in that small town, and that brought a different psyche and mentality as well. Almost like a servant attitude, where you feel you are there as a Black person to serve. You can't speak out, you can't fight or anything like that. And because of where we grew or how we were raised, no matter where it was, I remember distinctly an event at the post office. And we were standing in line at a post office, and we've been standing in that line for a really long time. In walks this white man, and he went straight to the counter to another white woman, and she was helping him. I lost my mind. I must have been about 16 years old at that time. And I lost my mind, and I distinctly said to them, I'm sorry, but do you not see the line? The rest of us have been waiting here for the past 45 minutes. And the lady said to me, no, but you must wait. And we got into an entire fight in the post office over the fact that this white man thought it was okay to jump all of us and go straight to the line purely because he was white. And other Black people in the line were so shocked to see a 16-year-old stand up for herself and for her Blackness, because I even said, just because I'm Black doesn't mean I don't deserve to be served. I followed the process. I've been standing in line. This doesn't make any kind of sense. And I think it's important that we continue to do that. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what experience you're going through, just constantly stand up for yourself and stand up for your Blackness, because that will automatically encourage other people around you to do the same.
Let me just, I think everything that's been said is spot on. Let me just also emphasize the need and the importance for all Black people in the world, whether they're in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, to really seek knowledge. And I think it's a little bit of what Elizabeth's saying, be an investigator. I think I'm amazed at how much knowledge we sometimes lack about who we are, about the communities that we live in, the countries that we're from, the world that we live in. And I think, people say now that because of the internet, right? You can learn anything you want. You can Google it all, and there it is before you. But the internet actually hasn't helped us to be smarter, unfortunately. And I dare say that it's actually taken us back a little bit. I think there's a bit of laziness that has occurred, in which folks aren't really seeking information, real facts, real information, real knowledge. I'll give a quick, maybe innocuous example of this, maybe not so innocuous. Almost all over the world, when a woman gets married, you take your husband's name, right? Nobody, it's just sort of how things have happened. And in 2020, many women still do that. Where I am from, the tribe that I am from, we traditionally did not take our husband's name. You kept your name. And Christianity, when Christianity came, that's when we started taking our husband's name. I remember having a heated discussion with another member of my ethnic group in which he swore up and down that this is how we traditionally did it. We always took our husband's name. But that's not true. So we are oftentimes we're accepting knowledge and so-called facts and realities that aren't actually based in truth. So I think as an African community, as a Black community all over the world, we need to go out and seek out the correct knowledge, and then we can decide: do we want to go along with this or do we not? But I think we need to start out with the real knowledge of who we are and where we come from. The last thing that I'll say is, nothing can fight a sense of purpose. When you have a sense of purpose and you have goals and objectives, people can be racist to you, people can be sexist to you. You can just be going like this. Nope. Get out of my way. I got somewhere to go. I don't have time for this. So I think purpose inoculates us from a lot of the craziness that happens in the world and in our personal lives. And then really this last thing, we got to bring everybody along. Quincy, you mentioned, people are jealous. I hate to use the word, of the fact that you've had a different experience. Part of that jealousy is normal, right? I've grown up poor. I've grown up in this disadvantaged environment. How come something different happened to you? What do we structurally do to make sure more people find themselves in successful environments? More of us find themselves in successful environments. Are we hiring each other? Are we supporting each other? Are we educating each other? Are we giving donations to institutions that support us? We have to bring others along. Otherwise, the people who are left behind will come come for us and try to destroy our success.
But to your point, Amini, I think I agree with you 100% about bringing everyone along. But I think also we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to also bring ourselves to a point where we're also ready. Because I think a lot of the conversation is about 100% is about, there is a lot that outside forces need to do, but I do think there's a lot that we need to do in ourselves. And that goes back to both your point and to Elizabeth's point, which is don't look on the internet, because the internet is exactly like news. It is a commoditized, filtered form of providing information. So when you look on the internet, if you look at the first Google page, that's not the real information. Try page 55, and then you might come across a PDF that actually gives you what you need. Go back to looking at libraries. This whole invention of the internet, this whole invention of digitization, it has its benefits, but ultimately its pure focus is control. It is to control the information that we look for. It is to control and remove the power that books have. Because let us not forget, the origination of education was in a book. Libraries provided education for all. I read a book recently about I'm with you and Elizabeth and Quincy. It's all about knowing where I come from. So I read about the archaeological history of Jamaica. I read it in a book. I didn't look for it online because I don't trust the filter that comes with online. So when people are saying go and look, don't Google it. Go to a library. Take the books out, look in the references, understand how all of this works, because the real information is not online. It is in a book. There is an artist that wrote it. There is an artisan that explained how it really worked. And that for me is, I agree with digitization. It helps, but it's not going to, as you said, Amini, it's not going to bring us forward, because it really is erasing a lot of the real information that we as Black people need to have, erasing our contribution to society, erasing our contribution to fighting in world wars, erasing our contribution for the origination of algebra, maths, everything,
philosophy.
Correct. All of what we as Black people have done has been erased, especially in the internet.
I just want to touch on what Amini said, about how it's so important to bring people along. And you touched on a word that is literally like it sparks something deep within me. My entire organization, Hello Coach K, is focused on just that, purpose. Purpose alignment, in not only helping young professionals graduate, whether you're experienced as well, to firstly understanding your purpose, and then understanding how to use that purpose to make a difference in the world, whether that's through your career or starting a business or whatever the case may be. And when it comes to what you mentioned, how are we bringing people along with us, and what are we doing to contribute that? I think self-awareness, number one. So self-awareness and self-actualization. I have lived my life. I'm 31 years old, and I am under absolutely no illusion of how blessed I am, the opportunities I've had, and that it could have been extremely different had I grown up in any other part of the world, any other part of my country, and during any other time. But I believe because of purpose, like you mentioned, you can swat away anything else that doesn't matter and stay focused. And I just want to bring it in that, one of the things, and it's really something I'm passionate about, my foundation is almost ready to launch. And that's what we want to focus on closing that gap between essentially the haves and the have-nots, on changing that perspective of, you living in the suburb or in the city have more, and that's a fact. You just have more, and you have access to more than somebody living in rural South Africa. And that's what the foundation is all about. It's about closing that gap, giving them exposure. I just want to bring this in, Kwamara, if we have time, I'm not sure, but when I run my workshops, so I run a lot of career workshops that deal with interview coaching, getting kids workplace ready. And most of these are done in our townships, one of the biggest ones, Soweto, in my country. And I always ask a question: what are you most fearful of when it comes to starting your working career? And the answer they always bring is talking to white people. And that every single time breaks my heart, because you're in a country where majority of the population looks like you, number one, looks like you, yet you are fearful of having a conversation with the 2%. And that's because the 2% own so much, right? The 2% are CEOs of our corporation. The 2% own the land. The 2% own the income, own the money. And that's the kind of stuff that we're trying to break free of. And hopefully when we are able to do that and they see these things coming again from somebody who looks like them, it will make that impact of pulling them up and bringing them, you know, up along with us. I think it's really important to do that. So we want to go rural though, to farmlands, to places where there isn't really access to electricity and water, where kids are still going to school under trees and using pit latrine toilets. And it baffles my mind that we're still in 2020. We've been a democratic country for over 25 years, and we still have kids dying every single year because they fell into a pit latrine toilet. And that doesn't make any kind of sense to me in my country, where we're considered a first world country in Africa. So, and a lot of people don't focus on that. And that's what we want to do. We want to close that gap, and we want to bring them up, and we want to make them understand that where you are doesn't determine your future projectile. Is that you can make it out. You just might need a little help. But man, listen, we're coming and we're there. We're there to help you. We're not living in the suburbs, living our best lives, kind of not thinking about our people. That's the only way I can explain it right now. I can't find the English word, but yes, is that we are thinking about our people, and it's just the right, is it citizenship? And stewardship, right? I think you guys will correct me, but that's just the right thing to do as another Black person. I think that's community.
I think it's community, and I think it's also for anybody who is working within this world. I think we've reached the point right now where we, all of us, every woman on this panel right now, we are all in a privileged position. Even if you don't always feel privileged, we are privileged. And I think we have to also extend the baton to give the, you know, as you said, Quincy, you've had a privileged life, so have I. So it's that point about we have to extend the baton to make sure that anybody that comes after us doesn't have to jump a hurdle that's this high, but rather has to jump a hurdle that's only this high, with the not just the information, but it's like there are so many things that come into play. Financial awareness, how to conduct yourself in an interview. Then there's also how to build a network, how to strategically reach out to people, how to look beyond. Where do you go for the information to broaden your own horizon, to understand that what you see before you isn't the only thing that's available? Because sometimes that's what we all have. I work in asset management. Did I know anybody who worked in asset management before I started working here? No. So it's that thing. How do we share that knowledge and pass it forward to everybody to ensure that they have all the resources to hand? If they make a decision that it's not for them, that's something very different. But as you said, Quincy, it's giving them the opportunity, giving them the knowledge to work with that, so that they are more than what they have. And you're working not just for yourself. And I think that's what everybody here is trying to do. We're not working for ourselves, but we're working for a higher purpose. We're working for a higher need, bringing Black women forward, bringing young Black people forward, bringing the Pan-African view forward. Everything that we're trying to do is for a higher purpose. It's not just about Leanne, Elizabeth, Kwamara, Odamea, Quincy, and Amini. It's about something more. And I think as long as we all work towards that higher purpose, I think we can't help but succeed, especially in this moment of 2020.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct, right? This is why we're doing this, right? It's really about how we passing it forward. How are we helping people really think about what is it like to be a Black woman, making sure that we have pride and we understand that we are beautiful, intelligent, amazing people that walk this earth that should be treasured, frankly, right? Treasure within ourselves, but other people should also treasure us. But like Leanne, like you and Quincy and Amini have said, we are all privileged in our different ways. We all have had a modicum of success, and we are living our best lives, and we are striving to continue to live our best lives. But I would also like to talk a little bit about what do we do to take care of ourselves, because this work is not easy, right? I think we're making it sound a little easy by saying like, oh, we have a lot of love and pride in who we are, and that's true. But there's so many external factors that are causing little microaggressions, micro traumas every day. And then of course, there's just larger traumas in general, just being Black in this world. What are we doing to take care of ourselves as we continue to try to shine light and stay true to our purpose?
I was just writing something down. I just got this word into my mind, and that is victimization. And I was just thinking of that and self-love, because, you know, I remember, Pamara, that conference we had, where I was just sitting in the back listening to you talking, all the people on the panel, and I realized that everybody was talking about slavery. That was the origin: slavery, and slavery. And I was kind of like shocked, because I was thinking slavery, but that's way back. But you know what? I think even me, even though I have not been thinking like that, I still have kind of like a mentality, a victim mentality, as if I am a victim, that the other people, the white people, they are against me, and I am sitting all by myself here, and they are here, and they're against me. And I really had to realize that that's not the case. I really had to get myself out of that. It's kind of like slimy, or something like very slippery. You know, to understand that I'm not a victim. I am, I am a, yeah, I know who I am, my identity. So, as I said before about being a detective, I have to dig down very, very deep to find out who am I anyway. And one of the things that have really helped me a lot lately is my education as a therapist. I really had to take a good look at myself. And not even only there, even before that, I have been working like a dog, you know, with myself, trying to find out what is going on in my life. Why am I acting as I am? And as I said, I was asking my sister, the way I'm raising my children, why is it like that? Because I noticed that Danish people, they don't raise their children like that. So what is it? And then she could tell me something about my story, my background, the tribe I come from, and Nigeria, and that's how we do it in Nigeria, and so on. And that really helped me a lot. So every time I found out something new about my background, my upbringing, it's kind of like, oh yes, something new again. You know, that I could, it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle, a big puzzle that I'm just getting those small pieces. And now I, you know, get to understand who I am. And I think that's important, because what I see in Denmark is that, or maybe it's not only in Denmark, but at least in Denmark, foreigners, they always keep together. So the black people always keep together. So you have a African church, you have an area where African people live in the same building, the same apartments, blocks, yeah. And you know, when you keep together like that, you speak the same language, you don't learn to speak the language that is dominant in the country. And you know, if you keep to yourself, you can't evolve, you can't grow, you can't be mature or anything. You are just stagnant. So I think it's very important to work on yourself, and in that way you can learn how to love yourself as the one you are, because I am unique, and all in this panel are all unique. So I am not aiming to become like you. I'm aiming to become the best version of myself, because that's who I am. And I'm just all excited now.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what I believe as a Christian. I really believe that that's what I was created to be. I was created to be me, not all or to compare myself with everyone else, because I am me and I am special and unique. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think as well, because you've been talking about just, you know, the place of privilege that we all come from, right, in comparison to many others. And it's what I say as well to my friends all the time, to say, you know what, our experiences are ours. And you touched on that word victim. I despise it so much when people say, stop making yourself the victim. And I always go back to the definition. Remember, though, victim literally means something happened to you that you did not want to happen to you, right? That was completely out of your control, that you had no consent to. So to also kind of diminish the word and the meaning of victim to a hashtag frustrates me to my core. And I think for me and my journey, it was just because I'm here now doesn't mean I had an easy life. Doesn't mean I had an easy upbringing, doesn't mean I didn't have challenges of my own. And I think for me, self-love meant forgiving myself. I have a natural gift of identifying problems. It's helped me through my career, it's helped me through my school days, and even in my business. I mean, I had my professional career just on that talent of identifying that this project is not going to work. So how do we fix it? I earn my money that way. And so when I was a victim of certain things, I blamed myself for not seeing it. I thought, how stupid am I? Why didn't I see that coming? Why didn't I assess the situation differently? And it took me many years, many years to get to a point of really forgiving myself and saying, but that wasn't on you. And then understanding, okay, so if it wasn't on me now, I need to get rid of that guilt. I need to get rid of that shame. And also as a Black person, that maybe I need to talk to a professional, because, in our culture, it's seen as, it's a, what's the English word? Somebody jump on and help me. It's taboo. Yeah.
It's
taboo.
It's something that you hide to the corner.
And you hide. Yes, you're not meant to talk about these things, but it was that as well. It was, okay, I identified that for me to get through this and to start loving myself completely, I need to talk to a professional, and there's no shame in that. And that I have to start talking to my husband. So my husband and I, we've known each other since we were 17. We've been married for 6 years. We've been dating since we were 18. So he's like my person. And it started with having conversations with him, somebody you trust as well. And I think that for me is what self-love was. It was that self-actualization, self-awareness, forgiveness above all things, and then stepping into your purpose and saying, okay, I can accept my purpose now. I am not who they said I am. I am who, like Elizabeth said, God destined me to be. And this is what I'm stepping into, and that I'm worthy. Like, I'm worthy of this destiny. I'm worthy of this destiny that's calling me and that's saying, I need you to start doing 1, 2, 3. And I need you to start walking in this journey with pride and confidence. And that, that it's going to pass you by if you don't. So, yeah, I think that really, that's what loving yourself is to me.
For me, it was 2012. 2012 was my big year of. A very, very good friend of mine was killed in a car accident. I also had an accident, thus the scar on my chin, and I felt like I'd given too much to a company. I started to realize that my identity as Leanne was no longer my identity as me, but rather the identity of the company. And as I left the company, I looked at myself and I thought, hey, who are you actually? Who have you become? You've become a person that's moved so far away from your principles. You've moved so far away from the things that are fundamentally you. How has that happened? And in that moment, I decided that I would never, ever again be in a situation that I would let any company dictate to me who I am, who I should be, how I should be, and how I interpret my what is my face to the world. And that for me took time. And what it also meant is it meant reconnecting with myself. So it meant not always going to party, even though I enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it meant those things of saying, you know something, I don't need to be everywhere. I don't need to be everything, and I don't need to be everything to everyone. If I feel like curling up with a book on the weekend, I will do so. If I feel like just lying in my bed and listening to music, I will do so. What is it that makes me me, and what is it that makes me enjoy my life being me? And putting myself first, people talk about being selfish, but I don't think it's selfish, it's self-care. Putting myself first, putting myself forward, and actually understanding how I tick, what's important to me, was the one way I took care of myself. And in doing so, funnily enough, is what led me then eventually to meet my husband, because I was never necessarily bothered about men, but I can honestly say that I wasn't living a life where if I wanted to meet somebody, the way I was living was compatible with meeting somebody that I wanted to be with for the future. And that's where I had to take a deep, long look at myself and say, well, who is it that, where do I want to be, and how is the Leanne of today matching up with that purpose, that person? And that's when I really took a look at myself and said, you know something, this isn't the life I want. This isn't what I want. So self-care for me is identifying where you want to be and making those honest moves, be it painful, be it not, to bring yourself in alignment with those so that the life you have is actually the life you want, whether you're single or not.
Okay, so I also want to talk about the self-care tips. And I mean, in Ghana, when we go to church on Sunday, and then in the morning, like for children, we had Sunday school. And then I remember I was taught that blacks were cursed through Noah, that whole story. And it's actually it depths deep into my mind. Everything every time when I see something going on, let's say on social media, maybe I see some children in Somalia, they are hungry and dying and all that. I used to think that it's because of that curse that's on us. So that's created some sort of mindset that I mean, black women, black people can't do anything at all. But after a while, I started reading a lot of books, and I started reading the Bible to understand it for myself. So I actually realized the curse wasn't even directed towards Cush, but then it was to Canaan, and then it's a whole long thing, and it wasn't really like directly on black people. So I believe that every black woman should make it a point to read, educate herself by herself. I mean, you should try to read stuff to educate yourself. Don't just wait for someone to feed you with some sort of information. I mean, you'll be misinformed a lot of times. So I actually have made it a point to be reading everything black I see online, so that, I mean, there are things that I have heard in the past, and I mean, I remember they used to tell us that in Ghana, Africa, we didn't have anything, and we were trading our gold for mirror and gunpowder and all that. So I mean, we should try to educate ourselves, read personal development books, read books on Africa. Don't just wait for what's going to be posted on social media or will be posted somewhere for you to read about it. And another thing is, I mean, most of us go to social media for relaxation, for entertainment. I make it a point to follow good content. I don't just follow anything. I just tap like, or I make sure I'm conscious about what I'm following online. So I make sure I'm following great women like Amara, like Quincy, like Leanne. I'm following good content. I mean, I started LinkedIn, and I made sure that I started following black women. I was seeing that they were progressing. I've landed myself here. So we should make it a point to follow good content. And we should also, I mean, eat balanced diet, because as I study pharmacy, so I mean, health really matters, and we should make sure we eat balanced diets, we exercise often, and we shouldn't, we should connect to our source. As I said, I'm a Christian, so we shouldn't forget God. I like to pray with music. So a lot, like most of the time today, I was playing music throughout morning till we had a session. So we should make sure that we connect to God. And I mean, that would even help us keep our emotions in check. If you're always reading your Bible, you're making sure you are reading good books, you are reading personal development books, there are things that wouldn't get your attention for you to think you don't matter. So I believe the others would also have other things to add. Yeah, thank you.
Oh my goodness. And talk about the superwoman complex, right? I know I struggle with that too, where you think you have to be everything for every single person all the time. And that was what I was struggling with. I've been, I'm a new mom. I've been a mom now for just over 3 years. And I thought I had to be everything all the time. I had to be the best mom. I had to be the best wife. I had to be, again, now the best woman, because no matter what environment you're stepping into, whether it was the workplace, you were seen as the model for Black women. Whether I was at the grocery store, I'm seen as the model for what Black women should look like, sound like, talk like, whatever the case may be. So it's always compounding. And I had to remind myself as well that, you can't be all of those things all the time. I physically crashed about a month ago. So I've been off social media for about a month. My husband literally unplugged me and he says, you can't do it. You cannot do it all the time. You have to learn to take care of yourself. And understanding that we need to step away from that superwoman complex. I think really whatever that song was, I think that did us in. That song of I Am Superwoman.
But Queen, hold on. But do you not think, just take it back for 1 second, put Superwoman as the word aside. Do you not think that what's undone us is really this strong Black woman part? Less than the Superwoman, but actually strong Black woman. Because in every situation that we say, hey, I might be feeling vulnerable, we get silenced. But you know what? You guys are also strong. I wish I had your strength. I wish I had your strength. And I think for me, that's actually more of an overwhelming thing. A Black woman is never allowed to be vulnerable. We have historically, looking at slavery, if we take it from there, the Black man was taken forcibly out of the home. So the Black woman was then in a place where she had to do everything. She was mother, she was father, she was provider, she was protector, she was priest, she was preacher, she was everything. And I think even to today, this strength that we've carried generationally, this transgenerational trauma still stays with us, because one of the biggest things that can be a Black woman's undoing is the weaponized white woman's tears. So even when we are in a position that we are feeling vulnerable, if a white woman cries versus our very clear plea, well, you're a strong Black woman, you don't feel this because you know how to deal with it. And that for me is the one thing where, when you look at it, why do so many Black women suffer from postnatal depression and don't feel like they have anywhere to go? Why are suicide rates so high amongst Black women? Why do we have all these things? Because we are always silenced with this, but you're strong, Black woman. You can do it all. You can put on your shoulders what nobody else can. And I think up until that point that we really allow ourselves to say, do you know what? That's your business. That's your problem. That's your prototype. I'm human. And I go through the same human issues as everybody else. Sometimes I want to cry. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes I don't know where to start. Sometimes I want the kids to be quiet. Sometimes I just want to drink a glass of wine. Like I'm human. I'm human. And we don't get that. And I think sometimes that's what the problem is for us. No one gives us the space. And we have to start taking that space to say, Sister here, Sister Kwamara, Sister Elizabeth, Sister Quincy, Sister Amina, Sister Odamea, can I lean on you because I feel weak? Because I think that is the beauty in us having a sisterhood, to say, even if nobody else accepts my vulnerability, you will get it.
Man, that's well said. And I think that's so true. And also I want to thank all of you guys, because you all have been vulnerable, telling us some really interesting stories, learning more about you, and really taking these moments to be emotional and vulnerable, not just between the six of us, but to the world. And so thank you so much. Amini, I do want to give you some time to respond. We have 5 minutes left. And then after that, any last words from any of the panelists?
We could do this all day. Like I am just drinking it in. It's like, I don't.
Amini, I was literally looking at your face the whole time thinking, I feel like we have just overwhelmed Amini. I feel like our stories have just gone to her. Like
I'm listening. I'm like drinking. You know, my face doesn't lie. My face doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Like I can't lie very well, because I'm just taking everything in, and I'm just like this. I'm just so happy. Three things very quickly. One, self-care. Marry well, and I don't mean money.
100.
I mean, if you need to be by yourself, be by yourself. But if you choose to be married, really go for content of character, and only that. Everything else will come. I don't care if he has $1 in his pocket or 5 million. Content of character. If he doesn't have a lot of money, if he has good content of character, you guys will make that money together. Ladies, I can't even emphasize that. So one. Second, your physical, your body. I feel like the Black woman is used from the time she's born until she dies, in the sense that we're born, we're told to stay very cute, be girls, be very cute, and then we get married, we pop out babies, and then we're put out to pasture. We need to stop that. We need to take care of our physical self. Our bodies, and you know, whether it's eating well, whether it's exercise, and it's not even about size. It's about using your body to fulfill your life's purpose. You need your body. You need a functioning body to fulfill your life's purpose. So this business of, you know, just using your body to produce for others, to pop out the babies, to raise them, to have them suck on your breast, and then boom, and then you're out. You're like, boom, you're nothing. No. So lastly, we sometimes have to be selfish. And I think this has been mentioned before. We sometimes just have to say, I have to take care of myself. I have given you time and space, child, husband, uncle. I have given you. What's left for me? Right? What's left for me? And sometimes you have to say, mommy or wife or sister, I need space to take care of me and center me, whatever that means. There's no sort of description for what that should be for each person. You will figure it out for yourself and then act on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It starts first at understanding even that you deserve that time. I think we've told ourselves so often that, you know, I think it is psychological, and I think it's exactly what Leanne was saying, that it's systematic and it's institutional, and there's all of these other factors. But self-care literally starts with you claiming it and saying, I've given you so much now. I've given everybody else everything, and I deserve this. I know that's what I struggled with. I struggled with understanding that I actually deserve self-care in the first place. And that's why I literally took this entire year. I said, this is my love year. I'm literally not doing a single thing I do not want to do this year. That's how extreme I had to take my level of self-care this year, because I was wearing myself out. And like you said, Amani, physically, you need your body to fulfill your purpose. There's no other way about it. If I am not physically well, mentally well, spiritually well, I cannot fulfill my purpose. And that is most important, more than anything, whether how I pop babies out, like you mentioned, whether they suck on my boob, whether you know, wife or whatever. It's fulfilling that purpose and making sure that you are touching every single soul that you were meant to touch in the span of your life. That's what this journey is about. So self-care really is important, ladies. And I think it really takes time to understand what that means for you as well.
To your point, Quincy, I liken self-care to how do you save money and how do you accumulate wealth, right? The principles of saving money is before you pay any bills, you pay yourself.
First.
You pay yourself. And I'm going to say it again, before you pay bills, you pay yourself. And that's exactly the same principle of self-care. I don't want what's left over. No, because that's not the best time. What's left over is you exhausted. I pay myself first. And then that's how I have money in my self-care bank, in my energy bank. I fill up my cup to then be able to fill someone else's. But you have to pay yourself first before you can pay bills, pay your kids your time, pay your husband your time, pay your friends your time. It has to come from you first. It can't be you at the end of the queue. But don't get me wrong, it also has taken me, my son is 2.5, it's also taken me time to get to that point too. This did not happen overnight, and I still fight. Be it my Sundays to go to the gym, Pilates, whatever, I'm still fighting, but it's that learning curve. You have to pay yourself first.
Absolutely. Guys, I can't believe it. It is 1:31. We've been at this for 90 minutes and people still want more. So I'm sure I'm going to have a chance to bring us all back to really get into some specifics. But what's awesome is that you guys gave such great gems and action steps that I think that our audience can go ahead and take with them, right? Educating yourselves, making sure you know who you are. self-love, self-care first, right? You got to do you first, and then you can give it off to other people. I mean, I think they're just such beautiful gems here. And also understanding the experiences and elevating our stories and understanding the experiences of Black women have been amazing. What's going to happen is all these ladies are actually also entrepreneurs. They didn't shout out their businesses and the things that they were doing. We were just so into the sisterhood. But when I say a thank you email to all of my subscribers, everything going forward, I will also link you to their social media, to their website, to all the ways that we can support them, because this is about also supporting each other, really empowering each other and showing love and support. So I will make sure to do that. On top of that, I have been talking about I'm a Black woman, yes, I matter. I have t-shirts. So you can
Yes,
buy
I saw that. Beautiful.
also t-shirts that have my logo on it that you see over there. So feel free to go to my website and order some if you want to proclaim to the world you're a Black woman, and yes, you absolutely do matter. The next one that we're going to do next month is going to be, and I think most of the women here are actually parents, it's going to be about what it's like to be raising Black children. So that's fun.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I see people like, yeah, we need it. Yes, we need it. What is it in this world? So that will be look out for that information. Thank you all for spending 90 minutes with me. Thank you, Elizabeth, and Nini, Quincy, and Odamea for doing amazing stuff and talking to not just myself, but to everyone out in the world. You guys were vulnerable. You guys spoke some truth. I have learned so much from you all in these 90 minutes, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the platform. Thank you so much for the invite. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.